What's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone is enjoying their day. I know it's been a while since I've done a live on here on RBC. Usually I do videos, but since I just finished a live on my other channel, Freedom Fighters channel, I encourage you guys to go check it out, my gospel channel. But I want to do a live on this one. I'm gonna start doing more lives. And so I'm trying to keep some content. I do have something for y'all today. Thought it was interesting to kind of put on my heart to talk about. And so I hope everyone's doing well. I know it's been a minute since I've done something with Freedom. Oh my God, Freedom Fighters. We're building community trust. So I have the RBC channel, which is this one. I have the Freedom Fighters channel. I have the Breaking Barriers Ministry channel, which is my marital channel, YouTube channel, and of course my wife, The Precious Pearl, she is doing teachings and videos for advocate for women and their value, and teaching them how to be godly women and godly wives and mothers. Definitely go check it out. And of course, for those who don't know, and I mentioned it before, I have a book that came out already. I'm preparing for a godly marriage, a journal and devotional by myself, Daryl A. Brooks Jr. It's on Amazon. I said this on my Freedom Fighters channel, but I might do a little bit of kind of a video talking about some of the contents of the book, talking about godly marriage, talking about how if you're courting, you're engaged, and you're into marriage or about to marry somebody, this will be a great resource to help you start your way on questions and things that you need to think about before you tie the knot. So I may do a live, I may do a video on here on it at some point. But yes, I'm preparing for godly marriage, a journal and devotional by myself, Daryl A. Brooks Jr. on Amazon. Get your copy, go support. Okay. So again, I know it's been a while. I want to jump into the video. My plan is not to be on here very long, but I do want to talk about something that kind of stuck out to me in the news. And this is old news. It's not nothing that's fresh, okay? But I had a little bit of time to kind of reflect on some of this stuff, and it's going to be one of those legislation type of conversations today, and some other things I want to share. So I'm just going to hop on here if you're interested, and you see this red button and it's live currently. Hop on. You know what I'm saying? I'll read the comments as I go, and I'll address them as I go. For those who watch this after the fact, definitely still leave your comments. I'm going to go ahead and jump into this whole thing. Hopefully it'll give you some thought and kind of give you some planning, and just, if you've seen this in the news and the social media, and this is nothing new to you, you know what I'm saying, it'd be great to hear your perspective on it. Again, I got a couple of events that I saw, and I just want to jump on it and talk about. Okay. Again, hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone is enjoying their day. Okay, so far. So I want to talk about the Voting Rights Act. Okay, that was knocked down by the Supreme Court. I think early this month, and it's interesting because like on this channel, I do different types of legislation or things like that, and I work in the law field, so it's certain things that they're floating around. And so the Voting Rights Act, right? And I'm going to talk about the historical perspective and those who don't know when it was started. Okay, President Lyndon B. Johnson. Okay, he prohibits racial discrimination in voting, so he banned the use of literary tests. Okay, this was signed in I think 1965, and tests posed taxes that kept us African Americans and other minorities from voting, and it gave us an opportunity for us to have representation by the Department of Justice and other congressional mandates from our governors. Okay, Congress. Men and women, as far as redistricting communities, such as in 1965 in the state of Alabama, the congressional redistricting, can't get the word right, so forgive me if I'm butchering the word. In the case of Merrill versus Milligan, okay, so this was done in 1965, and Alabama had some stuff going on. Hey, how you doing? Sorry. Hey, I'm reading the notes. Hi, name is Daryl. Okay, for those who don't know. How you doing? I'm looking down the notes, so if I miss you, please forgive me. Okay, how you doing? I'm glad you're on here. Hopefully, you get to stay tuned. Alabama was going through some things, congressional redistricting, districting, okay, of congressional voting. You know what I'm saying? So President Johnson said, "Hey, we want African Americans to have representation." So in 1965, part of the Civil Rights Act, Civil Rights Movement, they threw this in there to say, hey, we're going to give Black people a voice, okay? And we're going to get them a voice, and we're going to, go ahead and vote and get this thing together in Alabama. So Merrill versus Milligan was the case presidents that said that, okay? Set that precedence of that mapping, okay? What did it mean, and why was it so important? It was important in Alabama because although of the large black population that is in the state and doesn't have major impact on voter turnout as a whole, that mapping, I'm just gonna call it mapping because I can't say redistricting. So I'm gonna say mapping. Congressional mapping, black voters and those will have an opportunity to elect a representation of their own choice. So therefore, with this mapping of the congressional mandates for voting, it allowed people to vote for who they wanted to vote for. And that was basically setting the precedence for, to have impact for voice in the African American communities, right? And other minorities, right? So if I voted somebody for Congress that, that has my interest in mind, right? They're in Congress, they're in the House of Representatives or in the Senate, they can speak for me, right? And so this voting mapping was critical for the Voting Rights Act. And it was very, very important to many communities that had a major black population. And so more so in the southern states. Nearly 70 of 435 congressional districts are protected by Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Essentially, the long-term haul in 2028, which is the next election, is essentially Republicans who have control currently in both House of Representatives and Senate, currently with House of Representatives of 220 seats. And the House has 53 seats in the Senate. So they're largely engaged, okay, inside the House and the Senate today, okay? And these votes can sway either way, right? Democrats over here, you got the, they have to vote, right? And the Democrats can dissent and say, hey, I don't agree with you passing this bill. But the House of Representatives and Senate is mainly controlled by Republicans. As far as the act is concerned, congressional seats can be flipped to Republican seats, which benefits the Republican Party. So think about what's going on right now. Supreme Court says, hey, Voting Rights Acts has now been declared unconstitutional, basically saying that it's been torn down because of the state of Louisiana. And how you doing? How you doing? For those who are checking in, Louisiana's going through this right now, and it's causing the Supreme Court, and they actually struck down this part of the act. Okay. So if this is the norm, we have to not only continue to educate and to know how this will affect you in regards to voting. So as this is set in Louisiana, and they're going through this congressional mapping, I know Virginia, they said no to them doing that, right? So now other states are starting to other states are starting to try to follow suit. Jet, how you doing? Good. I'm doing good. And so they're starting to follow suit. So now a lot of these states are trying. I know California's doing it. They're doing a major congressional mapping, and it's supposed to set up for a Republican Party or whoever is benefiting by taking away this district mapping. And then when people vote, especially those minorities, their voice is not really heard. Okay, so with the Supreme Court doing what they're doing. So as many has been saying, so if I said there are a lot of changes, there are more changes that will affect Black and brown people that will inconvenience, oppress, and cause us to step out of our comfort zone. Okay. Supreme Court doing that, setting that mapping is going to, cause an attack on our voting. Okay. And so educating yourself and understanding in your community where you live, how do you deal with this change? If it comes your way, how do it affect your voting? How do it affect who you vote for in reference to Congress? So it's important that you are paying attention to how it's going to affect you in a local or state level. Okay. There's more things to come. I believe there's more things to come that's going to affect you, affect us. Okay. Not just me too, affect all of us, minorities, Black and brown people, Black, Hispanic, any other that's, colored people. And we need to be mindful. We need to be mindful, and we need to be prepared. Okay. So I just kind of mentioned again the Voting Rights Act. I encourage those who don't know is to go and look it up and go and do your research on it. Again, Supreme Court struck down, I think, certain sections of the certain sections of the Voting Rights Act, and it's causing some turmoil and backlash because of the dissent of they thinking that it's going to benefit all people. So even though it was set up for Black people and brown people, right, for minorities as a whole, to give a voice. Now that they took it away, now it's going to benefit everyone. And so it's going to cause people to go ahead and restructure the congressional map and to set it to where everybody has an opportunity to vote in a way that suits them. I think it's a ploy to set up the Republican Party and make it one partisan, and make it to where one party and they're trying to phase out Democrats. But this is the movement of the Supreme Court to do this. So that's one of the things I want to talk about. Wars, rumors of wars, high inflation and food costs, gas prices, housing costs keep rising. This is different from any other time. As said before, this is a critical time to reevaluate financial, mental, spiritual, which is the most important part, and getting right with the Lord Jesus, and evaluate your families and yourselves. Because at the end of the day, right, we are affected by grocery prices, gas prices, high inflation, causing housing costs, rent is through the roof, paying people mortgages through the roof, property taxes are through the roof. And so everything is going up because of the war in Iran, because of oil and barrels of oil. All the other resources are affected. High spending in the government, right? It's affecting businesses, costs, AI. All of these things are starting to affect lives. A lot of layoffs. Okay, automation, right? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. You know what I'm saying? There are AI starting to infiltrate, and it already has, and it's affecting pretty much. It's going to affect every industry at some point, and whether it's the grocery stores to even law, right? So reevaluate your families and yourselves in regards to, hey, this is an issue. I need to sit down with my families and plan ahead. I need to look into how can I, be more financially stable. How can I be able to not so much be financially stable, but plan and budget, saying the things that I need to in regards to my family and my life. Okay. Institution of AI and loss of jobs, right? I think I mentioned this now, but I want to touch on a little bit more because I don't know if people are noticing this, but the job market is being really tough in regards to getting jobs, and the institution of AI into dealing with your resumes and how employers are looking into getting applicants. And so being mindful of people applying for jobs and people are going through all this. I know I experienced it leaving the military, and I had to really get smart and really try to adapt to the new culture of job applications and resume writing, and the scams of jobs and all these different things. So it's really imperative that you are getting educated on these things and knowing how to maneuver the job market. It may be who you know, and it may be easier for others to do, but some people that, especially for minorities, right, it's really critical for people to be smart, because in our communities, we're not necessarily regarded in many things, and I say that with a tap, because I know some people say, well, I've had no problems, right? But it just really depends on your environment, what you're doing, and really marketing yourself well. And I know some of those principles still apply, but it's definitely a different ball game in regards to how jobs are being presented, and how often people are getting the compensation and outsourcing and AI taking over certain jobs. And I know it's affecting a lot of people. So I encourage those to really just sit down and look at this, and try to maneuver these changes, and they're going to continue to grow, right? This is not going to stop. Okay. Drug addiction and overdose. I want to talk about it a little bit, because I know a lot of people are dealing with these changes, especially cost of living, homelessness, high inflation, gas, jobs loss. Many people are dealing with a lot. And I know drug addiction can be a thing, and it has been a thing for years. And I wanted to touch on a little bit about the basketball player, Brandon Clark. He passed away from drug overdose. And I feel like with that it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how famous you are. It doesn't matter if you, are, you have athleticism, you're really intelligent, you have some type of skill set. Drugs can affect you, right? And we'll never know what really plagued his life for him to take drugs at the capacity that he took them. Only those who are close to him would know maybe a reason. But I pray for the families, for those who are affected, family, friends, co-workers, everybody that's involved in his life, that they get the healing and hopefully this will lead them to Christ, because that's ultimately who can deliver us from the pain and the hurt that we're dealing with day to day. And I know a lot of people are dealing with so much. And so be mindful to check in your family members. Be mindful to love those who are, dealing or struggling or need help, and try to be a community, because it's not going to get better. Okay. And I'm not trying to be negative, but we need to really, as a community, try to band together and share resources and educate, because this is the purpose of this channel, is to educate those in these matters. So just like I talked about the Voting Rights Act, right? Yeah, it's on the news and it's dissent, and you may say it doesn't matter, they're going to do what they want to do anyway. But I feel like with politics, especially when it comes to your state and local levels, you have an opportunity to try to influence those levels of those local levels. You may not be able to do nothing for the national standpoint, but you can try to do stuff for the state and the local areas. And so it's critical that you still involve yourself in your communities and involve yourself in educating people about the Voting Rights Act, and being involved in your local and your state, because that's your barrier to the national federal level, right? You may not have nothing to do with the federal, it may be rigged or whatever, right? Because people try to cheat votes, right? Ballots are being miscounted and all that type of stuff, but it may happen at the local level. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I feel like you have more influence of who your school superintendent is going to be, or your congressperson, or your superintendents and your mayors. And there's many agendas that go along with that. So, definitely take time to invest into your local and state level. People sometimes outside of recreational usage, but we know people do things to escape reality, life, and it's unfortunate people are die because of this. Okay, that's drugs, right? Alcohol and drugs. So people use it for recreational to get away from life and to not deal with certain things. But at the end of the day, we know that this stuff can be overdosed. You do it more and more and more. You become more and more addicted, and you end up dying because of it. Because I can't take life. I can't deal with what's going on in my life today. So please, drugs, it's a no. Please say no, right? Just like the commercial. You know what I'm saying? You check on your people, get the help that you need. Okay, stick together, because it's hard. It's hard right now. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for a lot of people right now. I meant to say this earlier, but I'm reading from notes. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. Black fatigue. Talked about it, I think last video or the video before last, right? And I want to thank some comments. I had a couple comments that was on my last video, and I thank those who comment, and I respect your opinions, and I really do value what you say. You know what I'm saying? So please keep them coming. And they said that basically we should know that all Black people don't act like Black fatigue. They don't have Black fatigue. And they, as far as what Black fatigue is, if those who don't know, is basically when the Black and brown people are tired of when Black people act a fool. You hear it on Carnival. You hear it about the ships and going on cruises and they acting a fool, and they're doing things and it's causing a bad reputation. And when we see it on the news, it gives a perception that we're not mild-mannered, we're not professional, we don't act like we got some sense. And so when people see this, Black people and brown people see this, they be like, I can't stand this. I'm tired of this. You get tired. That's fatigue, right? You're tired of Black people acting a fool. And one of the person says that, we know all Black people don't act like this. So, he didn't necessarily agree with me about the Black fatigue thing. But I will say, and again, thank you for the comment, and definitely continue to comment. But I will say, I agree with you. I can't, I agree with them, what you're saying, that media and propaganda, because you mentioned propaganda, and I know the media twists things. I know there's false news, fake news, and I know there people take things out of context and they exaggerate, certain events and things in the news. I'm not blind to that. But I think that it projects that all behavior is Black fatigue. There is definitely less people participating, what you said. But I feel like that the people that do see it glorifies it. And so when you glorify what you see and you think, oh, this is tight. I can go to a restaurant, and a real high scale restaurant, and act a freaking fool and cuss out the waiters and cuss out the waiters and the cooks and the maitre d' and the host, and I can go off and talk all crazy to them and record it on social media and TikTok. Oh, I can go do that too. If I don't like my steak cooked medium rare, I'm gonna act a freaking fool and I'm going to cuss out the host and the waiter in the high scale restaurant, and because I'm known in the community or I'm known on YouTube or social media that I have that permission to act that way, right? And that's the stuff like the people glorify this stuff. People glorify this stuff. So if you it could be propaganda, but people glorify what they see. They go. That's why the social media presence is so huge now. People see stuff on TikTok, they see certain things, and they say, okay, I'm going to act a fool. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to act this way. I'm going to act that way. And I become enlightened, and I think that this is the way I should live my life. And then next thing you know, you on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, and you're shown yelling, screaming, cursing, acting a fool in a high scale restaurant. And what that does, that taints perspectives for other races to see, well, why are you acting a fool? Cussed out the customer in one of the YouTube TikToks I saw, and it's just going off on other people, and you just acting a fool because your steak was put on the table wrong, or somebody didn't cook your food a certain way, right? Yes, I'm not saying that all black people act that way, but I am saying those who do is glorified. It got a lot of views, it got a lot of likes. People saying, yeah, if you messed up my steak, yeah, I'm gonna cuss you out. You messed up my baked potato, I'm gonna cuss you out. You give me the wrong liquor, I'm gonna cuss you out, right? People glorify that, and we don't want to accept that is glorified, especially with younger generations, right? They think about what happened in spring break of this year, right? Kids running around, shooting, stabbing, you know what I'm saying? Sexual orgies and all these different things. People glorify that stuff. They do that, and they go to these places and they tear the place up. And then when others that don't act a fool, that are mild-mannered, that are respectful, right? They then, you know what I'm saying, they are treated bad because of somebody else's actions. I think that's the issue. It's not the fact that, yeah, the people that don't do it are chastised. How many times have we went into a restaurant or establishment and we're treated a certain type of way because the person that came in there before them acted a freaking fool? And I was mild-mannered, I was respectful, I didn't cause no problems, I was respectful, treated everybody with respect, but I had this disposition towards me because of 2-3 days ago, this person come in here and started flipping tables and cussing you out because you didn't cook my steak good. So it's not because everybody does it, it's because the perception that it gives off. And that's why it makes it harder for us as a community to succeed, because people look at perception. Perception is everything, especially on the camera. All it takes for somebody to see something and say, see, that's how they act. Black people, brown people, that's how you act. That's how you act. And then when you come up and they look at you a certain way, or they shun you, or they blackball you, or your opportunities don't get given to you, or you're not able to go in certain establishments, then you mad and you call people racist, or you call people out their name even more because you've been treated wrong, and you get mad and you say, why is this happening to me? Because the next person that did it before went in there and flipped and went act a fool and then put it on camera for millions to see. So yes, I agree it's propaganda. I agree that everybody doesn't do it, but I do agree that people glorify all these things as well. So I think that at the end of the day, we need to really sit back and evaluate what we're doing, understanding, take time to sit with our families and continue to teach our home. We're a single mom and all these different things. Take time, talk to your kids, raise your kids a certain way. Community involvement, continue to build. I say this every video, but it's going to get to a point where we're going to really have to start doing that. Helping someone out, standing by, making sure someone's okay. The violence, the foolishness, again, the secular hip hop culture, the stuff that, people say, well, I listen to older hip hop. Yeah, but it's time for the foolishness to end, because it's going to really show soon. It's going to really show soon. And it's going to get to a point where you're going to start seeing the results of your actions. You're going to start seeing the results of how things are done. And you're going to think about, man, I should have thought about this in a different way. I should have moved in this in a different manner. I should have put this in a different perspective. So it's really going to show soon. And you really need to take the time to reflect. They're canceling our laws, stuff that has been fought by from Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Medgar Evers and many, many others. Thurgood Marshall, all these, the African-American greats that to try to set up this country in a way for black and brown people to be successful. And now it's starting to be stripped little by little. And so you have to be smart and cognizant and prepared, because it may to be a point where history may repeat itself in certain aspects. And if you are acting a fool and you go into restaurants and flipping tables and acting a fool and cussing folks out, it might not be an opportunity where black people or brown people may not ever go to those establishments again. And you may say, well, it don't matter. I'm good with Checkers. I'm good with Golden Corral or whatever. But you can't go to Ruth and Chris or these fancy restaurants because, and you want to, and you should be able to, but because you act a fool, you can't go. They won't let you go, or they ban you from going. You can't go in certain high-end stores because you don't know how to act. You don't know how to make sense of what you're doing. And it may just become a thing. So you really need to just reflect. And it all starts from home. I said this last couple of videos, last couple of lives. It all starts from home. How you do it at home is how you're going to maneuver it. How you treat, if you do things the wrong way and your kids are acting a fool, this team takeover stuff that was happening, early this year and last year and all this stuff, running around knocking down establishments and damaging stores and property, and your kids and your teens are doing that. That's a problem. That's an issue. You know what I'm saying? You need to check that, right? And it's not to bash anybody, but it's just you see it, and then it's like, well, it's just what it is, And no, it's not what it is, because when laws keep being passed to shortchange, to exclude, and then you want to stand on the street corner and picket signs and you can't vote for a voice, you can't do certain things for your community, then you're in your feelings. Along with voting, along with doing all these things, along with preparing to make change, you have to also coordinate that with your integrity, with your character, and with your attitude towards everything we do. Grab those by the neck that's acting a fool, if you can. I know sometimes it's hard, and everybody got their own thing going on. People got their own lives. People got their own worries. They're not thinking about the next door neighbor, the kid. They're not thinking about, this person, that person, or whatever. But it's going to require that at some point, because when things change, and they change for the worse for us, and stuff start really going down, it's going to be issues. It's going to be issues. It's going to be civil war. It's going to be issues. So really sit back and think about how this affects you. And I'm not going to be long for you guys. I'm going to wrap this up, but think about this stuff. Voting Rights Act, drugs, black fatigue. You know what I'm saying? Are you preparing, your neighborhoods? Are you are you thinking about local and state level? Are you involved in some political affiliation in these levels? Especially where it's a lot of, heavy areas of black people and brown people. You can be mad about it, but there's other ways to circumvent and start looking into other options. You know what I'm saying? And start, trying to come up with some community. Get your homes right. Get your schools right. You know what I'm saying? Educating yourself. To have these conversations with your kids, with your family, right? You know what I'm saying? And trying to build some type of strength within numbers, right? I'm not saying go out there and act a fool, shoot the place up, nothing like that. I'm talking about in the sense of doing things and preparing, because it's going to be a time where we're going to need to. And that's my message has been like this for the last year or so, 2 years, really 3 years. But if you go back to my other videos and see what the stuff I've been saying, I've been trying to incorporate some type of preparation, because it's going to hit the fan. You see it. You see the writing on the wall now, right? So are you prepared for the Great Famine? Are you prepared for depression? Are you prepared for economic collapse? Are you prepared for shifts and changing of the guard of governments? Are you prepared for the things that are naturally and spiritually happening? Or are you just like, it's whatever, it's cool, it's fine, I don't got time, I'm trying to make it day to day, and that's fine, I get it. It's not easy. I mean, I'm not knocking those trying to make it day to day, because it is tough right now. It is tough. But you still got to sit back and kind of put in the back of your mind to see, how can I prepare my home, my family, my church, my community for the things that are going to come. Okay? Or at least educate yourself if you don't do anything else. So that's all I got. I know it's short and to the point. I hope this gives you some food for thought. Again, check out the other videos, other content. Definitely research the stuff I'm saying. Voting Rights Act, Section 2. Look at what what they're trying to do with the rest of it. Look at what they're doing for the amendment rights, not amendment rights, First and Second Amendment. Look at these things. And depending on where you live in the nation, certain states, certain places, they're probably tougher. So look at your local rules, look at your local laws, look at what's going on in your area where you live. Because it may not be the same, but it may be some changes in the local realm that you're in. Get smart, get connected. Okay. So y'all be blessed. If the Lord says the same, and I'm back on here again with another topic. If you got stuff you want to talk about, questions, comments, please leave them in the comments below, descriptions below. I will read them, and I'll definitely respond to them. Again, thank those who do respond. I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for your responses. I'm thankful for the participation and the upkeep. And let's hopefully we can build something together in the community that's going to help us, because we're gonna need to have. We don't stand for nothing, we'll fall for anything. Okay, so definitely stay smart, educate yourselves, talk to your families, deal with your homes, your neighborhoods. All right, I'll see you in the next live or video.